Jessica Jones Season 1 finale, aka Smile. Now, I think this was a really fun finale for a great first season for the series. Very interesting to watch just how everything played out. It's ultimately it's just the final battle of everything that happened. It starts off, of course, right where the last episode left off. Jessica has to get Luke to a hospital because, despite the fact that he has unbreakable skin, if something does hit him hard enough, it can really mess him up. And he does technically almost die in this episode. And despite the fact that we don't get, unfortunately, throughout this entire season, I was looking forward to it, but despite the fact that we don't get like any avocados at law, we do get to see Claire from Daredevil, which I thought was pretty cool. And it actually, her role in this episode, I really thought it was going to be like, oh, hey, there she is, and it would be maybe a couple minutes. But she was in a lot of the episode, actually, and I was kind of surprised that they did that. It was like, man, this is a huge tie-in to Daredevil, and it wasn't just like, oh, hey, there she is working at the hospital, and that's pretty much it. It was like, most of the episode, she had like a good maybe 15 minutes. She was actually in the episode, so I was like, that was actually really surprising to see, and it gave them a really great connection, so it's not just a little tie-in like, oh, we bumped into this person or that person. Now there's a really direct tie to Daredevil because now both Jessica and Matt, and I'm pretty sure Foggy knew her as well. They all know Claire at the same time, so of course her knowing like two basically superhumans, it's like, alright, well, I can kind of get you guys together at some point. She might be sort of a catalyst. Depending on how things go with the Defenders, I don't know who's going to start it or how it's going to work out, but I think they're going to use Claire because basically we have Jessica Jones and Luke Cage together, and that's how they are in the comic books. And then Luke Cage and Iron Fist in the comic books are like best friends pretty much. So the three of them are pretty much going to know each other. So I think Claire in this episode is basically going to be a great catalyst for whenever they do it. Like, it's going to be years from now, but it's going to be a great way to get Daredevil in for the Defenders, where it's like, oh, I know her, and she might show up in maybe Luke Cage and Iron Fist as well. But I thought that was pretty cool, and we might have another tie-in. Now that we've had this final episode, we could get another tie-in from Daredevil season 2, where Claire kind of brings up Jessica Jones again. And considering how this episode ended, a ton of people know who Jessica is because a ton of people were calling her, and so she's all over the news and all this stuff. So it's like all the stuff about Kllgrave is on the news. So really easy tie-in stuff there as well for Daredevil, which I'm kind of looking forward to. I don't think they'll skip over it, so I'm looking forward to that. But I loved the way everything played out for this episode. We have, our big finale. We have Jessica going up against Kllgrave. Killgrave's ability reached the max, in this episode, and it was pretty crazy. I mean, it starts off simple. He's just him being evil, period. But then it's like when he finally gets everything he needs, he has these two guys. One guy killed himself. I believe it was with a needle. I'm pretty sure that's what Jessica picked up, or some little tiny thing. I couldn't really tell what it was. The other guy killed his father, chopped his arms off, and he's like putting his arms down the drain, trying to, as he put, erase him from the face of the earth. So that was pretty crazy. So she has to knock that guy out, and then we have his dad, who was still alive. That was almost like a horror video game type of move, where the person should easily be dead. They're like totally passed out after having their arms chopped off. He shouldn't wake up anymore. That's enough blood loss to where once you fall asleep, that's permanent. But he like jumps up and is like, don't look at him, don't listen to him or anything. And that was pretty crazy. And of course he dies after that because that was his last little thing that he had to do. And we get this great ending scene where, Jessica and Trish, they work together. They start off as like an awesome song playing. I have to look up what song that is because I thought it was actually a pretty cool song. So, they're going in, and it's pretty simple. It starts off as just Trish, and we have Killgrave, and he's just yapping it up, which happens twice in this episode, actually. Like, when they were on the phone at the hospital, it was the same thing, and it's like, she's looking for him and trying to find him and everything, and he's just like, a full-on monologue with himself, and he doesn't even realize it. But I thought that was kind of funny. Like, the same thing happened towards the end as well, except in this case it wasn't even Jessica, but it was just funny. Like, he's just speaking and stuff, and then he finds out that it's Trish. And I love the fact that he calls her Patsy, because when he said it, he was like, oh, it's Patsy. For some reason, when he did it that time, it was really funny to me. Because any other time, he's like, oh, he just calls her Patsy instead of Trish because of the show. But I just thought it was really funny for some reason. It was like, I don't know, it was just, like, he wasn't even angry. It was just like, oh, man, she totally got me. And he was just, like, genuinely, like, I got duped. And that's how he reacted. It wasn't like he was super angry or anything. It was just like, oh, man, it's Patsy. And I just like the way that he reacted to that. And then we have the crazy shootout where Jessica has to take off. She goes after him, of course, just a bunch of people. I knew what he was going to do because he always does the same thing. It's never stop Jessica. I don't know if he'd do that, even if she didn't have super strength. I don't know if he would send them after her. I think he would always do it where he has people kill themselves. But I think that, excuse me, I think that is a pretty big factor in why he always has people attack themselves, because she's going to help them. So I love that scene, and it's just a ton of people, and he's like, kill each other right now. And I think it would have been more effective if he actually said kill yourselves, because that would have been way harder for her to deal with, because they're struggling with each other, so it's not automatic where they can kill each other. But if it was like kill yourselves right now, a bunch of people probably would have just walked right in the water, and just that would have been it for them. But fortunately, everything kind of works out, and she goes through, and he yells for everyone to stop. And when she stopped, I didn't know what to think. I figured he had to have gotten, his abilities higher, because he mentioned, like, I know you had some plan, because otherwise you would have just jumped right over him. And so the way it was going, I didn't think that she was immune anymore. I figured something else random was going to happen for her to be able to take him down. And she does. That was probably like one of my favorite things the entire season, was this final plan, because I honestly thought he has the ultimate power. I don't see why she wouldn't be under his control. It made perfect sense to me. And it was just really cool. I was like, man, I don't know how she's going to get out of this. I knew she would. It's like, I know they're not going to end this season where they take off and he has Trish. I knew that wasn't going to happen. So I was like, okay, something's going to happen. Maybe Luke Cage. That was like kind of like the only thing I could really think of. I was like, alright, maybe Luke Cage will show up, because they do have the scene where he takes off, but I believe that may have actually come after. But it was like, something has to happen here. I don't know what's going to take place. And then they go through, and he's like, oh, he's messing around with her and everything, and he realizes that she's not saying anything and she's not moving, and he's like, holy crap, like, this actually did just work. And he walks right up to her, and she's, smiles and everything. And then she looks at, I was about to say Patsy, but she looks at Trish, and it was just like, oh snap, she's not under his control. And she just stops him from saying anything, and it was just crazy. It was just like, now smile, and she just snaps his neck. I was like, holy crap. That's a way to end a villain right there. Like, you have like one of the coolest plans I've ever seen. It was just very well done. And she just killed him, and that was it. So I love the way that it ended. And ultimately she had nothing else to lose. I mean, Hope actually killed herself so that she wouldn't be burdened anymore by trying to protect, like a certain special person, and getting their name cleared and everything, which they still can do, because at the end, once Jessica is kind of up for murder, because everyone's like, oh, she totally killed this guy, now they have all this testimony and everything, so they can still clear Hope's name after the fact, which is still sad, but at least they can do that, so that does mean at least a little bit of something, and I enjoy that. I thought that was really cool. During this episode, one thing that I thought was really crazy is when she mentioned, I mean, I don't know if she's technically her girlfriend anymore because of the issues that they have now, but when she mentioned that her ex was up for murder charges, that didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, they know that she had all these cuts and everything. I don't see how she's even remotely up for murder charges when she had like, I think she got up to like 28 or something, like almost 30 cuts all on her. And so she hit her in the head to, protect Jerry, and it's like, what? How is she on murder charges? That just didn't make any sense to me. It was like, it's cut and dry. It's like, look, I saw her basically killing this woman. She's cutting her like crazy. So I hit her, and then she happened to fall on the table, and it killed her. She died. That's like, like Jessica said, that's technically, I mean, it's not self-defense, but obviously it's defense to help someone else from someone who's kind of lost it, pretty much. So it when she said that, it just kind of bugged me. Like, how in the world is she up for murder charges when there has to be like some record? I mean, obviously people saw what happened to Jerry. It's like, well, she's got all these effing cuts on her, and that came from this person who's dead with a knife in her hand. It's not, it's not rocket science. It's hardly science. You can look down and look up, and you've solved the case solved. So I was so confused by that and a little annoyed because it just didn't seem like it made any sense to me. But they kind of breeze past that anyway because she is not like the ex actually shows up in the episode she's just mentioned. But Jerry is gonna help kind of prove what Kllgrave did and say that Jessica was forced to kill the guy and everything. So that'll all be fine. Something I love the way that the episode ends after she is known and everything. A bunch of people are calling her and she's just deleting messages, and then Malcolm actually answers the phone and it's like, oh, that's how it ends, and they're gonna end up working together, and that's kind of his new purpose in life is to truly help Jessica, and they're gonna help anyone and everyone that they can, and I thought that was a really cool ending. And I actually watched the video, and it turns out that Malcolm in the comics actually is her assistant. So I was like, oh, well, that makes it even cooler because it's just, it ties in to the comic books. But even without that, I thought that was a really cool, it was a really great path for his character because it did start off where it was like, what is the point of him? He's just like a drug addict, and it made no sense. And then it came together, and now it's like he's a reformed addict who was completely crippled by Kllgrave, and now he's just a totally different person. He's gone through a lot of crazy different things, like getting over the drugs, trying to help Jessica, trying to help Robin, who I still don't really like, all this other stuff. And, now he's in a pretty good position, and I like that. I thought that was really great trajectory for his character. I think everyone had some great moments in this show, but I'm looking forward to whatever they end up doing for season 2. We still have IGH, which that seems to be Trish's kind of goal at the end of this episode. She gets all the info and stuff from her mother, and it's like, I don't know what this company is, but this is what I'm going to look into. And she didn't, she kind of doesn't say much to Jessica about it. She's doing it on her own, and she wants her own answers. So I don't know what we're going to get. I mentioned before, because this is, some sort of secret organization, which, by the way, I was totally right. Super Soldier Serum, the video I saw where they talked about Malcolm in the comics being Jessica's assistant, same video totally said the same thing about Simpson, and I was right. The drugs are totally from the Super Soldier Serum, so no shocker there. Was not surprised. I was like, yep, everything Super Soldier Serum, just much lesser version in pill form. But whatever this group is, I'm really looking forward to that because they did some really crazy stuff, making Simpson basically a villain by the end of kind of his role in the season. And I don't know what's going to happen when he comes back, because he was forced to be, he was knocked out. He didn't want to go back to the organization even though he said he was in. So they've taken him back by force, and who knows what that's going to lead to, what other crazy drugs they might put him under, and boom, whole new villain status or something crazy, I don't know. But I'm really looking forward to that. I don't know how they're going to do the seasons. I don't know if we're going to be getting, because we had Daredevil 1, and we have one of Jessica Jones, and then Daredevil Season 2, I believe, comes out in, June or July of next year. So I'm not 100% sure how they're going to play around with, when things get released, or if it's going to start stacking up, or it's like, all right, so we have 1 and 1, and then 2 for Daredevil, and then 2 for Jessica Jones, 1 for Luke Cage, and then 3 for Daredevil, if that's how it's going to play or what. But I'm looking forward to how they're going to kind of combine the series and how often they sort of blend together. Because like I said, with Claire, that's kind of their in at this point. But there's still a lot of stuff that they can definitely explore. I mean, we're getting Punisher for Daredevil Season 2, so I can't wait to see how insane that gets. I just don't even know what to expect. We still have Kingpin. We have Kingpin's wife and everything, and I guess I won't talk too much about it. I mean, odds are if you watch this, you've seen Daredevil already, but I know some people who haven't, which I find crazy. It's like, what's the point of watching one without the other? But whatever. But I'm really looking forward to what they're doing. Love this finale. Just, it was a satisfying end, to be totally honest. The fact that she was able to get Killgrave, and it's like it does suck that she wasn't able to do it early on, and just every single time she had him, something just went wrong, and then it got even worse. Every time he escaped, it just got worse than the escape. Like it's like, oh crap, he got out, and then the aftermath of his escape was always the worst part because we had the first time he escapes is like the team's kind of just broken down, and then they're all kind of trying to catch Killgrave on their own, and it just didn't really work out. And then the second time he escapes, it's the fallout is just disastrous because it's after the whole explosion and everything. And so Simpson's insane. Trish is like just stuck kind of on her own. Jerry caused a bunch of chaos, for the people that she knew. And it was just like every time he escaped, it was always the aftermath of the escape that was way worse. So it was just a crazy thing what they've done with this season, but I loved it for sure. Of course, I want to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and I want to know, for one, what your favorite episode was out of this season, and two, what you guys want to see, or maybe even what you expect to see from season 2 of Jessica Jones, because there's a lot to go with. Marvel Universe is insane. Who knows what other characters they're going to introduce, because I didn't think that they'd be introducing other characters from Marvel in these 4 shows. I didn't expect that. I thought it would just be the heroes and maybe whatever villains they knew, and that's about it. But with them doing like Punisher and Daredevil, that kind of opens up a lot of ideas, because that means, at least for as far as whatever rights that Marvel has for their characters, they might put them in these 4 different shows, which is actually very exciting, because that brings even more people into it, and they might not exactly get go up to the status of being like put into the movies or anything. Like I can't even remember what the movie's supposed to be called, Infinity Wars, Avengers Infinity Wars and everything, but who knows, maybe they could. I mean, we have quite a while until that happens, and we just have to see how many seasons they put out for the shows. But there's a lot of potential now. Like, since they've introduced Punisher, they could be like, this person, I mean, a billion of Marvel, or like a billion freaking Marvel people live somewhere in New York. It's not necessarily New York City, but it's like everyone lives in New York. So there's a lot there. But like I said, want to know what you guys think. If I had to pick a favorite episode, it would probably be 1,000 Cuts, just because that was such an insane moment for the season. And they killed, I mean, honestly, it's like everyone that died that was like important pretty much died in that one episode. We had Jerry's ex-wife; she gets killed while trying, to kill Jerry. Clemens gets killed, which introduces the fact that Simpson has gone like full on nuts. And then Hope kills herself at the end of the episode, after we have Malcolm, Robin, and 2 of the guys from the group almost kill themselves. So there was just a lot of death, and just even the people that lived were very broken, and there was just a ton of insane destruction and chaos. And I think that was the one that really had like the craziest kind of just turn for the whole season, despite a lot of the crazy stuff that happened, like Luke Cage finding out the truth and all that stuff, and even the twist about him being under Killgrave's control the whole time. Despite all of that, I think 1,000 Cuts was like just, that was the one that kind of blew me away. Like, they killed off 3 important characters, and none of those deaths, personally, I saw coming whatsoever. So that would be my favorite, just because it just hit me like crazy, and it changed. I mean, obviously, the stuff that happened in this episode, or in that episode with 1,000 Cuts, I think is the one, because that's the one that introduces IGH, really. And so that's obviously, a season 2 thing. The stuff with Jerry, that, if they do continue her character, which I'm assuming they will because she's in it, that's going to continue on in the season 2, of course. And then, the Clemens death, that's tied with Simpson, of course. And then the Hope thing, that'll probably just be like a catalyst for, Jessica, something that she can call back on, whereas like that's the one person she wished she could have helped, and ultimately that person ended up helping her, because that's how she was able to just say, now I'm going to kill Killgrave, because there's no person whose name I need to clear anymore. I just need to get him. and that's pretty much all there is to it. There were a couple other people, like the father. He was like the only other person that had such an issue where it's like, man, it would really help if Killgrave was, was proven to have mind control powers. It was like him and Hope were like the only two people where it actually affected. Everyone else had a ton of issues that happened, but it was like, oh, he made me hurt myself, or he made me give this up or that up. But those are really the only two characters. Like even that father could have been, in the same position as Hope, where it's like he lost everything because Killgrave was like, leave your kid on the street and drive around for, I think he said like a week or something crazy like that. So those are like the only two people, and I'm assuming everything will hopefully be worked out. I'm sure that won't come up in season 2 where they bring that guy back at random. So I'm just gonna assume everything worked out perfect and he got his family back. But like I said, I want to know what episode was your favorite from this season, and what you guys want to see or what you expect to see from season 2. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.